The courtroom is quiet until she walks in. Perfect hair. Designer bag. A smile sharp enough to slice through tension. She's the wife of a well-known local politician, and from the moment she steps forward, it's clear she believes this room belongs to her. But Judge Caprio doesn't move. He watches, calm and unreadable, as she turns on the charm, tilted head, soft laugh, subtle flirtation, while the gallery whispers. Her husband isn't here. Her violation isn't small. And her attitude is about to collide with a man who can't be bought, swayed, or dazzled. What unfolds next will test ego, power, truth, and the limits of manipulation. The smile arrives before she does, floating ahead of her like a soft glow spotlight she spent years perfecting. She steps toward the bench with the kind of confidence that makes the gallery whisper. A few people exchange looks, half amused, half uneasy, as if they've already decided she's here to charm her way out of anything. She tilts her head, lets her hair fall just right, and releases another practiced smile. "Good morning, Judge. What a beautiful courtroom you have. And your presence, wow. Intimidating, but in a good way." Her tone is light, teasing, almost playful. A few chuckles rise from the back rows. She thinks she's winning. Judge Caprio doesn't move. Not an inch. He lets the silence stretch, and it lands like a weight on her shoulders. She fills the space immediately. "I mean, honestly, this whole ticket thing is just a silly misunderstanding. I shouldn't even be here. I'm usually very careful. I'm sure once you hear me out." The judge finally lifts his eyes. Measured. Unimpressed. "What exactly," he asks softly, "do you think this ticket is for?" She blinks. For the first time, the smile hesitates. "Well, I mean, parking, obviously." She laughs, but the sound falls flat. Judge Caprio turns a page. A tiny gesture, but it slices clean through the room. The gallery leans in. "This isn't a parking ticket," he says. Her lips part, just slightly. A single beat of confusion. The first crack. She straightens her blouse, clears her throat, forces the smile again. "Oh, well, then maybe I misread it. But I'm sure it's nothing serious." He studies her face, and the silence returns, sharper this time. Even the officers shift in their seats. "You were recorded," the judge says, "driving through a school zone at almost double the limit." Gasps scatter through the gallery. Her smile collapses completely. That can't be right. That must be someone else. I would never." "The dashcam," he continues, "is very clear." Another silence. This one breaks her. Her voice softens, thins. I didn't think it was that fast. And yet you joked about being here." His tone isn't angry, just disappointed, which somehow lands harder. She looks down at her hands, gripping each other so tightly her knuckles pale. The room watches a transformation in real time, confidence turning to uncertainty, entitlement folding into fear. For the first time, she whispers, "I'm sorry." Judge Caprio nods slowly, letting the weight of the moment settle. Then he looks directly into the camera, his voice steady. "Have you ever seen confidence break this fast?" He holds the gaze. Because in this courtroom, the truth always shows. Her voice turns light again, almost musical, as if she's trying to erase the crack that appeared moments ago. "Honestly, Your Honor, it was just a small parking mistake. Anyone could have made it." She waves a hand gently, like brushing dust off a table. "I didn't even realize it was a big deal." The gallery reacts with soft murmurs. People lean forward. Everyone hears the dismissiveness. She keeps going. "I mean, I usually park perfectly. This one time shouldn't define anything. I'm sure the officer exaggerated, or maybe the system glitched. It happens." An officer on the side raises an eyebrow. Her confidence begins to sound like entitlement. Judge Caprio listens quietly. He doesn't blink. He doesn't interrupt. He simply lets her speak, letting every airy excuse float up and settle into the room like smoke. She mistakes his silence for agreement. "So, if we could just clear this up, I'd appreciate it. I'm very respectful of rules, usually. Maybe someone misplaced a notice or something." Another wave of whispers. People exchange looks. Judge Caprio finally reaches for a document. A single sheet. He lifts it with deliberate calm, and the movement alone tightens her posture. "This," he says softly, "is the official report of your violation." Her smile freezes. He begins reading. Vehicle parked in a no-standing zone. Warning issued. Ignored. Second warning. Ignored. Ticket issued. Not paid. Penalty doubled. Still not paid. Final notice sent. No response. Each line hits harder than the last. Her face drains inch by inch. I don't remember all of that," she whispers. He continues reading. Officer notes. Driver present at time of warning. Driver dismissed concerns. Gasps ripple across the gallery. She straightens, then shrinks, then clears her throat. "I didn't mean dismissed. I was probably just in a hurry." Judge Caprio stops. He lets the silence settle, heavier than before. "You called this a small mistake," he says, voice low. "But everything about this says you didn't think consequences applied to you." Her eyes drop. The room grows uncomfortably still. "It wasn't like that," she tries, but her words sound smaller now, stripped of their earlier shine. The truth stands taller than her charm ever did. For the first time, she doesn't try to smile. And the entire room feels the shift, the playful facade collapsing into something far more real as the tension tightens, preparing the ground for what comes next. Her silence hangs for a beat too long, and everyone feels it. The charm that carried her into this room is thinning fast. She swallows, lifts her chin, and reaches for something sharper, something she thinks will save her. "Well, I mean, my husband usually handles these things. He's very involved in city matters. You might know him, Councilman Harrington." The gallery explodes with whispers. A few people gasp outright. One woman mutters, "Here we go." She pretends not to hear it. She forces a smile that doesn't fit her face anymore. "I'm just saying, he knows how these processes work. He's very respected." Judge Caprio doesn't flinch. He doesn't blink. He simply looks at her with a calm that feels colder than anger. "What," he asks quietly, "does your husband have to do with your violation?" The room freezes. Officers stop shifting. The gallery falls dead silent. Her confidence breaks like glass. I didn't mean anything by it," she says quickly. "I just thought it might help clarify who I am." He leans back slightly, studying her. His silence has weight, heavy, moral, unshakable. "You believe his position should influence this case?" "No. I mean, of course not. I was only trying to say we're familiar with city procedures." Several people in the gallery laugh under their breath. The sound cuts her deeper than the judge's words. She hears it. She feels it. The humiliation blooms across her face, faint but unmistakable. Judge Caprio speaks softly, but every syllable lands. "In this courtroom, titles do not matter. Connections do not matter. Your last name does not matter." Her throat tightens. "I know. I didn't mean to suggest." "But you did," he says. Casually. Too casually. She looks down, fingers trembling at the edge of her blouse. The mask she walked in with is gone. All that remains is fear, quiet, real, undeniable. "When you mentioned your husband," he continues, "what you truly said was, I shouldn't be held to the same standard as everyone else." A sharp inhale ripples through the gallery. Her voice fractures. "That's not fair. I didn't want special treatment. Then why bring him up at all?" She has no answer, and the silence that follows becomes the loudest moment of the morning. Her eyes glass over, not with tears, but with the realization of how badly she's overplayed her hand. The room feels different now, less forgiving, more aware of exactly who she tried to be. Judge Caprio finally turns toward the camera. "Tell me," he says gently, "should someone's spouse ever matter in court?" He lets the question linger, an invitation for every viewer to decide what justice should truly look like. Her breathing tightens the moment Judge Caprio reaches for the remote. A small, silent pause settles over the courtroom, one long enough for the gallery to sense something shifting. People lean in. Even the officers at the wall straighten slightly, instinctively aware that whatever comes next will change everything. Judge Caprio looks at her with steady calm. Before we go any further, there is something you should see. Her lips part, forming a careful smile she hasn't earned back yet. Of course, Your Honor. Whatever helps clarify. He presses a button. The screen flickers to life. And the room stops breathing. At first it's just a loading symbol. Then traffic camera footage fills the screen. Time stamp. Street name. Her car. Her face drains instantly, color falling from her cheeks as if someone pulled a plug. The gallery reacts with a wave of murmurs sharp enough to cut the air. There, Judge Caprio says softly. This recording shows the moment of your first warning. The footage plays, an officer approaching her car, speaking to her through the open window. She isn't hurried. She isn't confused. She isn't apologetic. She waves him off. The officer in the video even pulls back slightly, surprised. Gasps ripple across the room. She whispers, barely audible, that can't be right. But the footage continues. The second warning. The same spot. The same car. The same dismissive gesture, this time even clearer. Her shoulders collapse inward as if trying to hide inside herself. The gallery watches the transformation, the arrogance melting, the confidence cracking, the facade dissolving completely. Judge Caprio remains still, voice gentle but unshakable. You told this courtroom you didn't recall any warning. Now you see too. She stares at the screen, blinking rapidly. Maybe I was stressed. I don't remember acting like that. Stress does not erase truth. Her throat trembles. She tries again, softer. I didn't mean to disrespect anyone. He nods. Intent matters. But so do actions. The footage shifts to the moment the ticket was placed on her windshield. She walks up, sees it, scoffs, and drives away. No confusion. No misunderstanding. Just disregard. A heavy silence swallows the room. The woman who once entered smiling now looks small, shoulders curled, chin lowered, fingers twisting nervously in her lap. The narrative she thought she controlled is gone, replaced by the reality she tried to outrun. Judge Caprio lets the final frame freeze, her car pulling off as the ticket flutters. This, he says, voice low enough to make the gallery lean forward, is the truth you asked this court to ignore. She closes her eyes. Just for a second. A collapse without sound. And as the footage disappears, the weight of the moment settles not just on her, but on everyone watching, inside the courtroom and beyond the screen. A soft hook hangs in the air. What does a person do when the truth leaves them nowhere left to hide? Her eyes, once sharp with confidence, now flicker with something unfamiliar, fear. A thin tremor runs through her voice as she tries to restart the version of herself she's used to presenting. Your Honor, I wasn't trying to disrespect anyone. Maybe things came across wrong. But the words wobble. Her persona, polished and practiced, no longer holds. The gallery senses it. You can feel the room shift from judgment to an unexpected, reluctant softness. People tilt forward, watching her unravel, not triumphantly, but humanly. She swallows hard. I'm not usually like this. The tremble in her hands gives her away completely. Judge Caprio doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't push. He simply leans back, the gentleness in his posture more powerful than any confrontation. No one is attacking you. We're simply looking at what happened. She tries to smile again, one last attempt, weak and trembling. It doesn't land. She knows it. Everyone knows it. Her breath shudders. I feel embarrassed. This isn't how I wanted to appear. Embarrassment, he says calmly, isn't punishment. It's recognition. A few murmurs ripple from the gallery, acknowledging, agreeing. Even the officer by the door softens his stance slightly. She attempts a small defense, voice barely steady. I've been under a lot of pressure. My husband's campaign, the schedule, everything has been chaos. He nods, slow and steady. Pressure does not make you a bad person, but it can make us forget who we are accountable to. Her eyes glisten. She blinks quickly, fighting the emotion rising too fast to control. She's not pleading. She's not manipulating. She's simply breaking open. "I didn't mean for all this to happen," she whispers. There's a pause, one of those cinematic silences that fills the room like oxygen shifting. The gallery doesn't judge her now, they witness her. Her shoulders drop, finally letting go of the rigid posture she carried from the moment she walked in. "This," Judge Caprio says gently, "is the first honest moment you've given this courtroom." She exhales shakily, almost relieved that someone named it. Humility, fragile and raw, settles over her. For the first time today, she doesn't look like someone trying to win. She looks like someone trying to understand herself. And as the camera captures her lowered gaze, her trembling breath, that stripped down truth, one question echoes for everyone watching, inside the courtroom and beyond. What would you do if your entire persona cracked on camera? She stands frozen at the defendant's table, fingers knotted together, shoulders pulled inward as if bracing for a blow. But none comes. Instead, the judge leans back slightly, studying her with the kind of calm that disarms more than anger ever could. The courtroom quiets until even the air seems to wait. He begins softly, almost like a father speaking to a child who's finally ready to listen. He tells her the law isn't a weapon. It isn't meant to humiliate people, or crush them, or remind them of what they lack. It exists to keep the world balanced, to stop the powerful from floating above consequences, and to stop the vulnerable from drowning beneath them. Every head in the gallery tilts forward. Even the officers shift, sensing something important is happening. The judge's voice deepens. He reminds her that responsibility isn't a punishment. It's a mirror. You face it, or you spend your entire life running from reflections you're afraid to admit belong to you. Her breath catches. Her eyes lower. And suddenly the arrogance that once clung to her like armor melts into something raw, something unfamiliar: humility. He tells her mistakes don't define anyone. What defines you is what you do the moment you're caught in the truth. Do you hide? Do you lash out? Or do you finally stand still and acknowledge the impact of your choices? A ripple moves through the crowd, whispers, soft gasps, the subtle shift of people feeling the weight of their own past decisions. The woman swallows hard. You can almost see her chest rise against years of entitlement and excuses. For the first time since entering the courtroom, she looks human, not the influencer with connections, not the woman accustomed to doors opening without knocking. Just a person who finally understands that accountability is not an enemy. The judge nods gently, as if welcoming her into a lesson far bigger than the case itself. Growth doesn't begin with applause, he tells her. It begins with discomfort, with honesty, with the courage to change when no one is clapping for you. A moment passes, long, quiet, transformative. Then he asks the question that lands heavier than any sentence. What will you do with the responsibility you've avoided for so long? The courtroom holds its breath. If you agree with the judge's message here, tell me in the comments. Her hands tremble slightly as she folds them in front of her, shoulders tight, chest rising unevenly with shallow breaths. The courtroom is still, so still that every tiny shuffle, every faint exhale, echoes against the walls. The weight of Judge Caprio's quiet, steady gaze presses on her, and for the first time all day, she cannot hide. I never thought this would happen to me," she whispers, voice breaking, a tremor betraying her usual composure. I always assumed that my position, my status, would protect me." The gallery leans forward. A few gasps escape, soft but audible. She's no longer performing. No practiced smiles. No soft deflections. This is raw, unfiltered. I never expected to be held accountable like everyone else," she admits, tears glinting at the corners of her eyes. Her voice quavers. I didn't mean to ignore the rules. I thought I wouldn't have to face them the same way." A hush settles. The courtroom feels suspended in time. Even the officers stop shifting in their seats, watching her transform before them. The arrogance that entered with her is gone, replaced by something painfully human: fear, shame, and vulnerability. Judge Caprio leans slightly forward, hands folded calmly, voice soft but commanding. "You are facing the same standard as everyone else because that is fairness. Not punishment, Not humiliation, fairness. Her lips quiver. She swallows hard, tears spilling, finally releasing the tension she's carried like armor all morning. I understand now, she says, almost inaudibly. I thought I could slide by. That rules didn't apply to me. That I could avoid responsibility. The gallery shifts. Whispers of empathy thread through the rows. She is no longer the antagonist in their eyes, but someone stripped bare, exposed by her own choices. I see it now, she continues, voice trembling. I see that ignoring what's right, it only makes things worse. I have to own it. I have to be accountable. Judge Caprio nods slowly, letting the words sink in. Acknowledging your mistakes is the first step toward understanding them. You're not defined by what you did, but by how you respond to it. Her hands unclench. She blinks rapidly, trying to steady herself, shoulders slowly relaxing. The tension that gripped the courtroom shifts subtly. What once felt heavy with judgment now carries a fragile, tentative hope. For a moment, the room holds nothing but her sincerity and the judge's quiet guidance. And in that silence, a powerful truth resonates. No matter status, wealth, or influence, accountability is the great equalizer, and sometimes the most human act is simply to confess.